Yesterday we talked about the area of a triangle, and now we're going to look at parallelograms and trapezoids. And you've already seen a parallelogram because I've discussed it before, but now we're actually going to talk about it. So a parallelogram has two parallel sides like this, and if we're doing the area, it's just the length times width, or length times base. It's the same thing. Base times height, length times width. But you have to have a height perpendicular and then a base. And then the area of a trapezoid is going to be a little bit different. You're going to have two perpendicular sides that you're going to add together and divide by 2 and then take it times the perpendicular height. And we'll go through that. So the first thing we're just going to do is we're going to look at some shapes and we're going to try to figure out what the base and the heights are of each of these shapes. So here's our shapes and we're going to just go through them and see if we can find the base and the height. So here are my figures. So if I look at this first one, it's a parallelogram. So I need to look, okay, the base can be pretty easy sometimes, but you need to have it be so that's parallel. So this base is 6, and then our height has to be at a 90-degree angle. So this should be driven like this, so then you can see it's going to be 4. Okay, the next one. Well, our base is going to be 10 because it goes this way. And now our height. Well, this 3 is at a slant, but this 2 is straight up and down, so it's going to be a 2. Okay, looking at the next one. Okay, the one that's going to be our base is here. That's the 8. And then our height is a 3. So that's just very simple. Oh, let's look at this next one. This one is a little bit different. You see how the base is 7. And now the height is going to actually be on the outside with a little line here. So that one's going to be 3. So sometimes it's on the outside. Okay, let's look at the trapezoids because sometimes they can be tricky. So with the trapezoids, you're going to have 2 bases. And if you look at this, the bases have to be parallel lines. That means they're never going to intersect. So if we look at this one of my bases is up here. That's a 10, and the other one is 15. So I would write a 10 and a 15. Now I have to find my height. And if you look at this one, actually, can you find your height? No, because if you wanted to find your height, you'd actually have to do a 90-degree angle like this. So you'd have to say no height. So some of these might not have a height because you have to have that 90-degree angle. Let's look at this one. Well, the 2 parallel lines are here and here. So that would be 13 and 10 for your parallel lines. And then your height, you can see that this definitely makes a 90-degree angle, and that would be an 8. So basically with these, you need to look and find the parallel ones and then a 90-degree angle to the base. And if they don't have one, you just say no. And then that's it. And then you can try the rest. So then let's continue on with our presentation. So now we're going to actually look at how you find the area of a parallelogram. So if you remember, I said the parallelogram is just length times width, or it's actually base times height. So let's go through and try out how to find it. So like I said earlier, the area of a parallelogram is, you could say length times width or base times height. So let's say base times height. So we look at this. Well, our base is going to be 6. And now our height has to be that 90-degree angle, which is right here. So that's going to be 4. So 6 times 4 is 24. And then we label it with centimeters squared. So the area of a parallelogram is pretty easy. And if you look at this, you see how it has a triangle right here. If you take this triangle and you move this triangle, I'm just going to move it for us, and you move it straight over here, and it kind of looks weird now, but you can see it makes a rectangle. It's not the best rectangle, but you can see it. Okay, let's go through another one. Again, area equals base times height. I like to write my formula each time, so it starts to solidify in my brain so I remember what it is. So if I look, my base is going to be 25, and then my height, I got to look for that 90-degree angle, which is here, so that's going to be 8. So 25 times 8 would be, I'm just thinking in my head, that would be 200. And then that's it. And we'd say meters squared. Okay, so now we're actually going to go and we're going to go through an area of a trapezoid. So let's go through this one just so you can see how to do it also. And we're going to do it as a decomposition, which is something we're going to do tomorrow, and as a formula. Okay, so let's look at this. Let's do it as a decomposition shape. So I'm actually going to copy and paste that shape, and I'm going to put it a little bit further over so we can see it as the decomposition. So here it comes over right here. Now, if I want to decompose it, that means putting it into 2 different shapes. So if I decompose it, I can draw a line that goes like this, straight up and down, like, I'm not doing the best with it, like so. Now, I just decompose it. But I can see that now I have a triangle and I have a square. So I'm going to use a triangle and a square. So I'm going to put here, I'm just going to put a triangle, and then I'm going to have a square over here because I'm going to do two different shapes. So let's do the area of a triangle first. Remember, area is 1/2 base times height. So if I look at this, well, my height I can see is going to be 11 because if this is 11 over here, right here from here, then this has to be 11. But now, what about this little shape that's right here? I'm going to put it in orange. What about this? How would I find that? Well, I don't know it right now. I know the whole length is 19, and this little part here, which I'm going to put in purple, is 14. If this is 14, this is 14. So, to find this little part, I'm going to go 19 minus 14, which is 5. So, for my area of my triangle, I'm going to go 1/2 times 5 times 11. And then let's do that. So 1/2 times 5 times 11. So I'm going to actually use a calculator just to speed it up a little bit. If I can get my calculator up, 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to go, the way I'm going to do it is 5 times 11 equals, and then divide by 2. And I get 27.5, okay? Now, my area of my square is going to be base times height. Well, if you have it's not a square, it's actually a rectangle. It looks like a square, doesn't it? But it's actually a rectangle, so we're just going to go area equals 14 times 11. So I'm going to put that in my calculator also. Okay, so 14 times 11, let me put it in. 14 times 11, and I get 154. So this is 154, the other shape. Now, in order to, so if this is 154 and this is 27.5, well, I need to add them together to figure out the total one. So 154 plus 27.5, and I get 181.5. Well, let's see if I did it right. We're going to see if we did it right, and you're going to say feet squared by using the formula. So the formula is A equals, and they say it's I call it base 1 and base 2, but they're just saying A plus B, because it's the two bases, divided by 2 times your height, 11. So let's look. Our one base is going to be right up here, 19. Your other base is down here, 14, so plus 14, divided by 2 times 11. Okay, so let me go to my handy-dandy calculator. Let's do the order of operations. So I'm going to go 19 plus 14 first. I get 33. And then we have divided by 2 times 11. Okay, so now let's divide that by 2. We get 16.5. Ooh, let's see if it's going to turn out if I did it right the first time. And then times 11. And I get 181.5. Look, I got the same answer, 181.5 feet squared. So both ways work. If you think that it's easier to decompose these figures and find the area, do it that way. If you like the formula, then do it that way. So that is the area of a rectangle and a, or not a rectangle, parallelogram and a trapezoid. And so now I'm going to have you practice some of the problems.